Oh shit, we've been recording that whole shit.
Oh, of course we have, because we also do that.
Yes. Okay, introduce yourself.
Like Sam Bailey.
Yeah, say some shit. I don't know.
Say some shit. Talk louder. Be present in the future.
Speak of the homosexual agenda. Apparently, it must not be spoken of.
So, we realized that most people wouldn't know what non-binary is, so we kind of just wanted to talk about that for a second.
We figured if we were going to be Enby Adventures, we might at least want to explain what that means. So, as for this show, we like to think of it closer to the definition, which is that non-binary is an umbrella term for people who neither identify as male or female. You're just kind of on a spectrum, and that spectrum can be anywhere from, transmasculine like myself, or
Everything and nothing at all.
mysterious, I suppose. But yeah, that's what non-binary means to us.
To us. Because it means a little something different to everybody. Because it's about your journey with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. This year in Texas, that does include the bills that are dead, that are no longer being considered, but that's an onslaught of just.
And you have to remember, we're only the third month in to the year.
It's really only March.
It's only March.
I think some of these were proposed pre-2023.
But they
didn't have their
oomph this year.
Yeah.
And these
every source we have looked at just shows an insane amount of anti-LGBT bills across not every state, but like across so many states, across the country as a whole. Really, there's just a net of anti-LGBT bills.
And these ones, I mean, they're doing against free speech, civil rights, healthcare. I mean, there's even school and education where if someone doesn't basically use he, him pronouns or is in any way LGBTQ, like you can't mention that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the don't say gay bills are
gay.
I just can't imagine, why don't people think about the fact that, you're asking gay teachers to go to work in a field that's already so stressed and to not I don't remember having a single teacher growing up that we didn't at least hear about their partner or their spouse or their kids or their grandkids. If you're gay, you can't talk about anything in bills, in these states that have the don't say gay bills.
Yeah.
Because any even mention of it is considered sexual education, because they're just automatically sexualizing the concept of being gay.
Really, people really think that all gay people do is have gay sex when we're just
it's because
everyday people.
It's because they've dehumanized it down to such a base level. 90% of existing has probably way more than that, but we're not just going around having sex 24/7 and preying on people in bathrooms and whatever crazy stuff that gets said about us. But that's the whole point of a moral panic, is it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to provide a villain.
Yeah, and they've definitely painted us to be a pretty big villain. But we're everyday people. I work in the mental health field. This isn't, I'm not out to get anybody. I'm helping people every day.
I literally just work on computers and do IT stuff. That's all I do.
And help people every day because they can't figure out if they need to turn it off or on, or is it plugged in? They need Noah.
It's normally plugged in.
It's normally plugged in.
No, I feel like the number one problem is people don't restart their computers.
Restart your computers. We learn new things every day.
Mm-hmm. It's always fun to see a computer that hasn't been restarted for 40 days, and you're like, this poor thing. Why is it not working? It needs a rest.
It needs sleep.
It needs to reset. It needs to update. Anyways.
And so just like with all these laws, you know, villainizing, demonizing the LGBTQ community, you know, there things start to happen. Like Tennessee making drags register, or trying to make drags register.
Drags?
Drag queens, drag kings, right?
Yes, they're trying to make people register to do drag.
Yeah, drag king and queens, which is totally unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you start making one type of person, you know, register, okay, because let's be honest, not all drag kings and queens are you know, members of the LGBTQ. There are you know, straight people who love to do it as well. They'll also have to register for that, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just when you go from registering, you move on so far past that.
Yeah, it's never a good sign when you start. Anytime you start collecting lists of data on minority groups, you're probably not about to do good things. Just historically speaking, it's never led to anything positive. Even just the concept that we know that in Florida, DeSantis has tried to create lists of LGBT people, and in Texas, we know that the Attorney General has tried to create lists of LGBT peoples, but most specifically trans, typically. So far, those requests have not been cooperated with. Luckily, that data was a little harder to put together. Or maybe they could put it together and they just didn't want to cooperate, which, if that's the case, then thank you. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're calling the drag certificates, I guess you could call them, an entertainer's permit, and you have to get it from the Adult Oriented Establishment Board, because that's a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to have, they want to make it to where you have to have a registration with this Adult Oriented Establishment Board before you can perform drag in any sort of professional circumstance. Actually, I think it even said professional, personal, or otherwise, even private. But if you're doing it for any kind of pay, which means like if you got tipped $1, technically you're doing that for compensation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying the only other times I really know about people having to register ended in a Holocaust. I mean, and we say I've talked to you about it. Like we've talked about, you know, Germany, the Nazis, all of that, making the Jews, which we've all learned in school. What we didn't learn is there was also, you know, tons of gay people. That's why we have the pink triangle, because they would make gay men wear it. And I guess being a lesbian wasn't really, it was like frowned upon, but it wasn't illegal. So they would get them for prostitution and make them wear a black triangle. And, you know, and then at the same time that this is happening, the United States is putting Japanese or
Just
not
regular
soldiers. Yeah,
Japanese people.
regular Japanese American citizens. That's what we're going for. America was putting Japanese American citizens into camps. What were they called?
They were called internment camps.
But they were concentration camps. Like, if we're just going to be honest with it and call it what it is. I mean, they were having to register as well. And I mean, and America is also medically experimenting on African Americans during this time, and entire community, like the entire country of Puerto Rico. And I mean, I feel like if history has taught us anything based on the United States alone, it's that we're not doing the best for the people who are different in some way.
Well, we never have.
No, we never have. But I mean, we started off wrong with this whole country.
The crazy thing is that we're dramatically better off than we used to be. But we're teetering on the edge of having lost that.
Yes.
Like, right now, we've made progress, but it's kind of like we've taken you know, a step forward, and they want to take us 2 steps back.
10 steps back, I'd say.
They're trying as hard as they can to step as many places back as they possibly can.
Yes. Or next thing you know, it's gonna be like Little House on the Prairie.
Just welcome to Gilead, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I already know I'm gonna be in the mines or whatever that place was.
I'll go with you, Fred. We'll do it together. Under
man.
his eye.
Oh gosh. Blessed be the fruit. That show was so
Intensely.
I think everyone should watch that show and read the books.
Yes.
Just as a good reminder that rights that have been attained cannot be counted on forever. There are so many places in time and history where people finally gained rights, and then another group did not like that and spent years trying to eliminate that.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like really the last time the United States went against human rights this way, the country divided for a bit.
I wouldn't say that's even the last time.
No, but on this big of a level of where it's still every day getting a little more intense. So
We just we've found ways to evolve, but then we evolve that into something else.
yeah, and not everybody is evolving.
No, we lost the point there.
We did.
That's okay.
We can cut and edit and make things look nice.
Yeah, because that's an 11 gay divide.
The gay divide.
Okay, we are recording.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I didn't see the seconds, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Should we call this segment the gay divide?
I already named it that in the bloop.
Okay, then we're doing that. So I guess now we're going to talk about the gay divide and how within our LGBTQ plus community there's so many of us that have issues with other parts of our community.
You say that as if you have issues with other parts.
I don't.
Oh.
But people
You said
do.
so many of us.
Well, because we're a community, just because we're on the right side.
Non-binary discrimination over here.
Not binary discrimination when I'm non-binary. Proudly so. So.
We are quite proudly non-binary.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of more like stealth about it, I guess, if we're being honest.
And I wear pins to work that are non-binary. And my they them pronoun pins because it
I'm
matters.
I'm technically not out at work, although I'm not. It's not a secret, but like I haven't expressed that.
Right, but I mean, we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to come out every time we go somewhere new.
You know, it's like literally the first time that I've ever worked in a place that I could just be like a normal person, at least for a little bit. You know.
Yeah, until they get to know you.
Until well,
No,
I've been there for 4 or 5 months now.
I was
5 months.
funny.
Oh, I don't always pick up on sarcasm.
Because you said normal person.
Oh, yeah, well, there's not much normal about me, but,
Yeah.
you know, at least I didn't, you know, I could blend in for like a second
Yeah.
until I found out that technically our time clock shows everyone, the whole team's names, and so it's never been a secret.
We just thought.
But even better is that nobody has said anything or been a jerk.
Which is cool.
It is cool.
Yeah. And you know, at my work, they're all like obsessively like, Bailey, I'm not calling you the right pronouns. Like, correct me, fix it, help me fix this. And
Do you get tired of that? Like people who don't make progress.
I think that there's a line that you have to draw, but like there should be a grace period of like someone getting to know you or
Oh, yeah, of
someone
course.
getting to get no, comfortable isn't what I want to use. Just to get used to, like, you know, you're still the person that they've always known, but they have to work on the pronouns because if they always known you as one thing and then now they know you as another. So I think that there's a line, but
I mean the people that you know should
yeah,
like have made some progress right now.
yes, yeah, no, that
It gets on your nerves.
it does, and I mean, you know, I'm one of like the most patient people with this, I feel like, and there's just times that I'm like, okay, like get with it. Like I literally wear a pin every day that says they them. Like,
Yeah, you normally wear your pronoun pins.
yeah, because, I'm trying to make it easier for people, to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
But no. Ma'am, they, them, gentle them.
Gentle them. I've always liked that one.
I do. It's my favorite.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't, um, I don't outwardly express it much. Um, like when our HR person asked, I was like, uh, they asked my pronouns because, HR person, they see all of your information and my name's not legally changed. So they obviously know. They're the one who set my name up and everything.
They're like, oh, so, look in here.
And, if asked, I always explain that I'm actually non-binary. Like, I just answer the question. But it's quite nice to not be aggressively asked the question.
What's in your pants? What are you?
Like, I remember I started at one place, and the first thing someone asked me was like, oh, so what are you?
And it's the what are you that really is the problem.
I'm like, a fucking person.
Like, hey,
let's start there.
Let's just ask my pronouns because that is the correct way to do that.
Because that's not how we address people.
No.
You can't just start a conversation with, hey, what are you?
Actually a demigod, thanks.
I wish.
How do you know we're not? We are.
Mm.
We're demigods.
Funny. I think we've gotten distracted on this one. Sounds like Donald Trump was indeed not arrested today.
Even though he's guilty.
Well,
he's guilty.
I'm not disagreeing.
For everything. He did everything.
More than what they're charging him for, probably.
Yeah.
I say probably more as a layer of protection than...
Then definitely more, because we are not supposed to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who cares? Yeah, nope, so far.
No arrest.
No arrest.
There's always tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was him predicting that himself, honestly.
Yeah, but I thought, like, he was like, dang, I really did mess up so bad. Like, I'm for sure getting arrested tomorrow. It's been real. Start a riot.
That man is the most notable liar in, like, American history.
I mean,
I don't know, maybe human history. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's I don't know. I kind of thought, but yet again, maybe he just did it to start another riot.
A riot would have only started if he actually had been arrested, so he probably thought he might be and thought maybe he's buying to himself some time by essentially drumming up some rage from the good old base.
Yeah.
To prevent them from wanting to do that right now. I mean, as we see, New York City is like, please go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they were putting still barricades up all last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I feel like, I don't know. I can't predict what's going to happen on this one.
It's
even
a
if
rich
we
white
do,
guy. He's gonna get away with it. Probably.
I mean, we're probably just going to slap him on the wrist. But honestly, like, at least some accountability is better than none.
I mean, I kind of hope they're like, you can never run for president again because you've been in this trouble. That would be cool.
I'm pretty sure if he's like arrested and charged and like arraigned and all that stuff, I think he might be the first president or ex-president that's ever happened to.
Yeah, I can't think of any other president that... but there's not ever... I will give him one thing. There has never been a president like Donald Trump.
No, there really hasn't.
And hopefully there never will be another one. Have you ever watched Idiocracy?
Oh, yeah.
The moment he won, I was like, oh, God, it's coming true.
I think that was everyone's thought. We were all just like, oh, man. My concern was having someone who does things purely for media hype and to get attention and to drum up confrontation and chaos is never going to be good for a country. Like, boring is better. Like, we shouldn't...
I feel like if we're gonna toe the line of chaos, getting a BJ in the White House is probably as like big as I want to get it.
You really went with as big as I want to get.
Yeah, I did.
Um,
I mean, let's just be honest. We've had nothing but males. That's
it would be interesting to see a little bit more diversity in the White House.
yeah. Ooh, it could be us. We could run. President, president and vice president, team
Absolutely
non-binary.
The team not running.
Team not running.
I can't. I could not do it. I don't think.
I know. I think President Porter has a great ring to it.
President Noah, I hate my last name, is not. We'll just give everything away for free.
I mean, so would I. I'd be like, you get health care. You need a house? Here's a house. College? Go get an education. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I would fight for those things, but obviously it's going to be like a whole other story getting Congress on my side on those things.
No, because I think about, because we have to be like 100 to run for president.
100?
It's not 100, but I mean, they all look 100.
35. They look 100 after they serve because it's a lot. Imagine being the one person that the entire country unanimously gets to hate.
I know, and for things that, like, you're just the pretty face of America.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, it's Congress and the Senate and...
Yeah, like, you're like, my starter broke. Damn it, Joe. Like,
you did this.
has nothing to do with the president.
Nothing.
That's probably stressful, knowing that any wrong word that you say could have national consequences.
National. Worldly.
A whole nother reason why you can't just have a complete wild card in office. It's just like, I'm all for chaos, but let's not do it at a national scale. Like,
Yeah, a little anarchy, a little chaos on the low level.
I'm actually not even against anarchy.
I love anarchy. I just love saying anarchy,
I think, I mean, obviously, like, there has to be rules in place, but
yeah,
I think for the most part, if you just let people live and leave them alone,
they'll do pretty good.
mm-hmm.
I think we all should have, like, I don't know, giving back to the community, like working together. Now I want to buy an island and fill it full of gay people.
Mm-mm.
No, because they could nuke us.
Say,
Okay, if the world wasn't the way it was and we could just like live in peace with everybody and I could have just this island of safety and helpful givingness, like we all like
safety and helpful givingness.
like we make sure each other's safe, we grow crops together, we trade, everybody is equal.
Just tell me you want to start a hippie commune.
I do. Let's do it. Tiny house
Doesn't
nation.
everybody want that? That's why I always hear people talk about like, oh, I'm just gonna like buy a plot of land with my friends and we're all gonna have houses and we're gonna like garden together. I'm like, we're just hippies modified.
Yeah.
Also, we just can't afford to do any other way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, being a millennial kind of sucks.
Mm.
I mean, like our
I mean,
grandparents.
imagine how bad Gen Z feels.
I know they're screwed.
Well, don't say that to them.
Oh, you're not screwed.
That sounds like a lie. No, I mean they just got raised with like no hope.
Yeah.
Like we had an inkling of hope. We had a brief moment where we thought like, oh, like things are gonna
like the American dream
Yeah.
is attainable.
It's like it's a real thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but then
it is.
multiple recessions later, pandemic later, you know.
I mean, terrorist attacks.
The never-ending gobstopper of a war that we had.
Yeah.
Constant conflict.
Always.
Constant economic upheaval. Oh, let's not forget the climate.
Yeah, the climate is.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever has to clean that up, I'm sorry. Hopefully
There's
it's not
actually
too
new
late.
news on the climate.
I did hear about that.
I don't. The deadline's not any further away than they thought it was before.
But we're not doing great.
We're just not getting there.
Yeah. Because nobody's stopping the use of dirty energy. What's that? I mean, it's the opposite of clean energy, right?
Dirty energy.
Dirty energy.
It's just market it that way. Like, don't go use that dirty energy. Be better than that. Clean it up with orbs.
Oh, yes.
Oh man.
That's good. Good stuff. Right there.
Okay, let's stop this one because this
Yeah.
is 10. Oh wait, were we already? No, okay, now we're recording. I need to get my shit together. Every time you turn on the camera, I'm cussing. Sheesh.
We just have a whole clip of you just saying shit, fuck. And then we can do it. It's good. It's great. It's
We're
great.
fine. We can do this. So one of the things we wanted to bring up was the experience of discrimination in the job market and in employment as a whole. If you are LGBT and you've tried applying for jobs, I'm sure you've likely run into some form of discrimination. And so we just wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, so a bad one for me was I was working in the field with children in the system, and I noticed that there was one employee in particular who was like extremely mean and going against any LGBTQ staff member, but they were also going against the kids. They wouldn't use correct pronouns. Basically, if anything was gay, it was a no-go. And I blew the whistle on it because these kids, they're already being stripped from their homes, everything they've known, even if it wasn't a good environment, like that's still their home. And so now they're brought into the shelter, and just to have more trauma put on top of it, like that's not something I could stand for. And I think honestly anybody like with a heart wouldn't let that happen. So I tried to talk to my boss about it. My boss came back and was like, actually, it's you. You're the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been saying all these things against this person. I had not.
Did they accuse you of creating a hostile work environment?
They did. They did. Yeah.
Did you have like any proof against them?
Yeah, I had tons of proof against them. The kids themselves were telling us like that how she was talking about like the LGBTQ staff members, how it was affecting them, and then like we were seeing it. There was emails and text messages. I mean, there was tons of proof that what I was saying was happening, and then the rebuttal they used against me, there was also proof that that was in fact not happening. So then they wrote me up, and I refused to sign it, and I called HR, which was someone I knew. They'd actually helped me get this job, and
Okay.
they're like, yeah, like Bailey, everything I know about you, like this isn't you, and like this is obviously not you. They launched an investigation. They talked to all the employees, and everybody had great things to say about me, and like was saying the exact same thing that I had been saying about this person. And like how it was like just affecting us, like having to work, like we're already it's hard to work with kids in the system because your heart breaks constantly, like you're seeing them act out the effects of their childhood trauma, the effects of just being taken away from home, and you're seeing all this and you're already hurt, and then you have a coworker who's also harming your mental health and the kids' mental health. So we all said the same thing, and the person, it came out that I was right, and the person got suspended for about 2 weeks, and they came back, and a week later I was let go due to paperwork issues.
That was the official reason?
Yeah, paperwork issues. I got fired for...
What do they mean by paperwork issues?
There was no explanation. And I even said, you see that like I got her, okay, and this girl happened to be my boss's best friend. I should mention that. So I got my boss's best friend suspended, and then I got let go for paperwork issues because, obviously the real issue was because I was taking up for the LGBTQ community, which needed to be done. I don't regret it at all because, I mean, how could I stand there and let kids get treated that way or my coworkers?
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
messed up.
yeah.
Did you get to like file successfully against them or anything?
I thought about it, but like it was, I mean, even for me, it was like such a traumatic experience. Like to go through all this, to be told like that I'm an awful person, that when that happened, I had the keys in my pocket. I took them out, took them off, I set them down, and I said, okay, have a great day. And I just walked out. I didn't know what to do, honestly. Just, I was so taken back because, I mean, there was really nothing I could even do to fight it. I mean, like it was literally,
It would have been a lengthy process for sure.
yeah,
It would
and
have been something that you'd probably still be dealing with.
yeah, and I'd rather just, I mean, move on. And that place isn't even open anymore because, well, you reap what you sow, I
I
guess.
guess karma.
Yeah. And but now like my job now, like everybody's like, they try really hard with my pronouns, they apologize when they mess up. I mean, I went to my interview in a tie. Like,
Nice.
yeah.
I always go to my interviews with a tie.
Yeah, and even someone who like when I walked in, like, and it was just like a client that was there, that they were like, "You really wore a tie?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to look good for my interview." And they're like, you don't see enough young people wearing ties these days," because everybody thinks I'm like 12 instead of almost 34. I'm like, I'm a whole adult. Of course I wear a
That's
tie.
fair. I
And
I didn't think you were older than me, that's for sure.
yeah, I'm an old person. It's fine.
I thought we were like the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like nobody believes they're like you can't even you're not above like you're not even 30 and I'm like, no, whole adult. I have, a retirement plan, I got life insurance, I got health insurance. I'm adulting. And so but I go in, then they love me and they didn't even care like that I was so obviously not straight.
Right.
And and everything has been for me there has been great. Like we're all working on mental health things. They care. They come to me about their LGBTQ clients. Just to make sure that like what can they do better to be better for them, and and they're always trying to be better for me. And I mean, this is the first time full circle it's come together like this for me, and I just
That's
honestly
really good.
couldn't be happier. Like I enjoy my job, getting to help people in the mental health, like with mental health issues, and I don't have to worry about there being a target on my back because I'm so very obviously not the standard for work environments.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Well, at least we know that there's hope because we both have positive stories
Yes.
at the end of all of the nonsense.
Okay, so what was workplace discrimination like for you? Because it's a little different being trans than it is.
Hmm. I think one of the most blatant examples of discrimination that I faced, I had applied at every place I could think of at this point, and I just started I started applying for things that like I didn't even think I wanted to do, like I mean, let's be real. Anything in sales, I've never done well at, but desperate enough, I will apply for it. At least it's an attempt at a paycheck, right?
Right.
So I applied for a sales position at a company whose name I shall not say. And, the interview, I finally got an interview with this place. The interview went really, really well. They really liked me and they expressed interest in hiring me. And um, at this point, my information is not changed on my license. So we had to have that discussion. And they, at the time, they seemed okay. Like I thought, this is okay, cool, this is good. No big reaction. That's a good thing. So they sent me on my way to go get my social, and I was like, okay, I'll come right back. We'll do finish paperwork, and I'll start working. They had wanted me to start working like 2 days after that.
All right.
They had
So
already told me what day I was going to start.
yeah, so you like
Like,
had the job.
I was, so I come back in. I have my my social security and my license with me, and I said, hey, I'm here to finish my employment paperwork, and I told them my name, and they were like, we don't see that here. And I told them, I was like, okay, well maybe it's under this name. And, I told them the other name, and they were like, no, it's definitely not here. And that kind of, it went back and forth, and I could see the hiring manager who I'd had an interview with in his very clear office. Like, it's a glass box. I'm looking at him. He's not look at me. And they ended up telling me that I should forget that I even applied. And so I was pretty young into my transition at that point, and did not know how to stand up for myself at all. So I just gathered my things and left. Didn't know what to do. I didn't fight it or anything. I mean, obviously, I don't want to work for a place like that, and I wasn't sure that anyone would listen if I said anything about it, so I just didn't.
Yeah, so, and being so like early on in your transition and things like, how did that affect you in that? Because like mental health wise, that's gotta like put a damper on feeling like you should transition.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a whole period of time where I was applying for jobs, and I tried both explaining beforehand. I tried explaining after the fact. I tried applying under my legal name and under my chosen name. It didn't really matter the option, except I noticed that if I explain things after and apply under my chosen name, those work. That combination works the best, because if I say, so there's a whole like onion of discrimination, really, because if I apply under, I get almost no responses. Actually, I'm going to take that out because I don't even like my dead name existing, and I don't want anyone to know it.
I didn't know it until just now.
Yeah, I know.
I felt so weird. Did you see my face? I was like,
yeah.
I know now. Can we put a beep in it?
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be
I'll try. So when I would apply under my biological name, my birth name, I wouldn't get responses at all. Like, I would get a few, and so there were like less interviews to even work with. So that's just flat out, that's just sexism. Like,
yep.
Like, if I apply under that name versus Noah, I get maybe 20% of the callbacks I do as Noah, which is insane.
Because they're like, look at this smart techie guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you apply as my birth name and you show up as Noah,
they're like,
that conversation happens immediately and it doesn't go well.
They're like, I'm confused.
Yeah, because off of the bat, people look at you and go, no, you're not. No, you're not. That's not who you are.
Do you need to see my driver's license?
So I save that conversation for after, and I apply under Noah, is how I was doing it then. And then I got to the stage where I had many interviews where I would go in, things would go well, and you would think like things were going really, really well. They've even told you like they really, really need people. How soon can you start? You can tell that not many applications have been submitted.
Yeah.
And you would just never hear from them again. And a lot of that could be a busy job market, but how many people do you know that have to put in 150 to 200 applications in this town?
Everywhere is hiring desperately here.
Mm-hmm.
So no, nobody has to do that. You walk in, they're like, can you start tomorrow? Actually, like right now, yeah. I have a change of clothes for you in the back.
Yeah. So it didn't go well. The only places I didn't honestly apply for, actually no, I had gotten to the point where I applied for a couple of fast food positions. And the thought of that was that alone causes suicidal ideation. I can't stand. I give so much props to anyone who works in food service because it's a nightmare.
It is. I used to be a general manager of a few different
mm-hmm.
fast food and restaurants.
Yeah. But, despite the fact that there was a lot of likely discrimination, because it's hardly confirmable. That's the bad thing. Is most discrimination you experience, you end up gaslighting yourself. Like, is that why? Like, it's hard not to jump to that,
Right.
but also like sometimes you're like, oh wait, that's really the only reason.
Yeah. Like you're like, what else is there? My resume on point. My interview on point.
Like, there were plenty that I could say, like, there was plenty of competition, and I probably just didn't get picked. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know,
But it's the places that blatantly were just like,
where your experience is perfect. The interview went really, really, really well up until a certain point, and then you could tell that the dynamic changed
yeah.
in a way that was like, yeah, well, that was a deal breaker.
I did have one interview like that before I got my job now.
Oh,
That
really?
I'm just realizing that happened.
Oh,
Oh.
see?
Hey.
Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of like, it does happen though.
Yeah, I'll tell you off the record later.
Mm.
Nobody else gets to know. Sorry, guys.
But it does get better. Like, I've had plenty of good experiences at jobs as well.
And like your job now.
Yeah, like throughout the entire interview process, there were points in time where I had to, make that disclosure, and everyone I had to deal with about it never blinked an eye at it. Never blinked an eye. Like, they were just fine, and never bothered anybody. Up to this day, we haven't even had to. No one's asked me. No one's interrogated me about anything.
Because you're just Noah and you're
Mhm.
cool.
I don't know if I'm cool. I'm really socially awkward.
No, he's cool.
I try very hard. It doesn't work.
You don't have to. No, it doesn't have to. No. You don't have to try. You just are.
The problem is probably because I try so
Yeah, probably.
hard.
When I try, it does trip me up. But, I mean, I think it's pretty cool that, like, because you've mentioned that, like, even on your clock-in thing, that it has your other name.
Mhm.
And no,
And I really didn't know that for months. I really thought nobody could have a way
you're
of
just
knowing.
like, I'm in the
I was
closet.
the nice blissful ignorance, and then I was looking. I was like, oh, you can click on team, and then I was like, you can click on team, and I am right there.
That's me.
So I was like, oh, okay, everybody has the option to know. That doesn't mean everybody does know.
Yeah, because not everybody clicks buttons.
Not everybody's gonna
I
even
don't
look at
know.
that.
You're a bunch of IT people. You probably click buttons.
You'd be amazed. We use what we need to use. But yeah, no, like, nobody's questioned it or anything.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so let's just assume some people know.
no, definitely, like, I can think of
The
at
button
least
clickers.
I can think of at least like 8 people who do,
And
and it's never been an issue.
and it's just very cool.
Yeah, completely relaxed. Like, it's just a non-issue, which is like how it should be. It
Right.
should be a non-issue. It's so unremarkable that it's epic.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's unremarkable is the most exciting thing you can be as a minority person of any kind.
Yeah.
Is you're just not in the way like you want to be like bad at it or anything, but just unremarkable to the point where that particular part of your circumstance or your existence doesn't come into the picture. It just falls flat, doesn't matter, and you just do your job, and that's all that counts.
Which is how it should be. I mean, it's about your skill, your ability to work well with others.
We did just talk about how I'm socially awkward.
But obviously you do a good job because you help. I mean, you talk to the people that you help and then you talk to your coworkers. So you're not doing bad at that. I mean, it just hits all the points of like what a job is supposed to be and how it's not supposed to be about how, what your identification is, like what your pronouns are. It just works. And I feel like that's such a low bar
It is.
that we're
It's such a
still
low
struggling to even reach in the LGBTQ community.
The fact that we can't even agree that everyone should have the opportunity to have that experience and protect people from discrimination, why can't we just at least decide on that?
Yeah.
I mean, I say how hard would it be, but here we are.
American equality.
Here we are. Um, but yeah, I've had lots of jobs where the experience was actually pretty good in varying degrees, varying degrees of acceptance versus, maybe one place would be accepting in this particular area, but you would get like little microaggressive comments from
Right.
coworkers and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Those are always fun.
Which, I mean, the little usual bullying stuff, like, I mean, honestly, we're so used to that, it's not even funny.
Right. I mean, and people just bully in general for any type of difference. You know, we see this in grade school, like, and the bullies in grade school most likely are growing up to become the same bullies in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's wild. And I smile about it now, which makes me feel weird because I mean, buckle in. So I was living in East Texas. There's drug selling going on, not me. I'm a child. I was a junior in high school. So there's drug selling going on, drugs being done. My stepdad and my mom broke up. But for some reason today he came to our house and I was already locked out. So one of my friends like climbs up at the side of my house, goes into my bedroom, comes down and locks the door. We go inside. My stepdad's angry. He's telling me to find my mom, but I mean, cell phones aren't. I mean, this is 2005 and 6. Like, yeah, people had cell phones, but I didn't,
Barely?
and my mom didn't because there wasn't a lot of cell phones. I mean, it was like
Was
it was
texting even unlimited at that point?
no, because that happened my senior year.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, so
primitive.
primitive. And like you were still like, what is it, T9 wording?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it was like a whole thing. But nobody had cell phones, so I couldn't get a hold of my mom on my landline phone, which he then takes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he unplugged it from the wall and went and plugged it in somewhere else.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, fun.
It feels antique.
Yeah, it does. And so then I'm like knocking on the door and I'm like, give me my phone back, like how am I supposed to find her if you took it? And, he doesn't. And, so the night goes on. So my stepdad commits the crime of attempted manslaughter. So I don't know everything. There was like guns involved, lives at stake, but my stepdad did end up with a knife and he cut a guy from here all the way around. He cut his ear in half this way, like along the ear.
Mm-hmm.
And my house was a literal crime scene. There was blood everywhere. I still had to go to school the next day, which meant I had to sneak into my house to get my school supplies so I could go to school the next day. It was, everybody in this small town has police scanners because they're all up to something. And so everybody in town heard it.
Mm-hmm.
This was a family friend. Everybody knows. I go to school and his cousin is so mad and he tries to like beat me up. This big, huge cowboy. I'm 5'2", and he's like gonna hurt me and is like, I mean, because what? Because my stepdad was on drugs and crazy. Like, I mean, I was sad about it. Like the guy he did that to was a long friend of the family. Like I was upset. This was very traumatic. Like I was 16 years old. And
That's really young to be exposed to that type of
there's no age for that environment really to be appropriate, but my brain wasn't fully developed. I was a small child. I was just trying to play sports and have friends, and instead I'm the kid that their parent tried to murder somebody. That was fun. Small town. This town had like the flashing lights, just one bulb each side, one stop sign. Like, and now this entire town knows this. I mean, and that is just one of many similar things that happened. And people don't always believe that, but I lived it. It happened. It was intense.
I think people have a tendency to be able to underestimate the things that other human beings are capable of, even while knowing, like, we know that these things happen,
We're like watching the murder documentary and we're like, that didn't
but
happen.
we don't generally know the people they've happened to.
Too.
And I mean, maybe you even do, but those people don't just go around telling you.
Yeah. And
You never know the bucket of trauma someone is carrying around.
yeah, and I don't have those cues all the time on things that like I'm not supposed to talk about because I just was under the assumption that everybody's parent tried to kill somebody. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't really believe
It,
that, but there had been something, you know.
yeah,
And
it is hard to find the line and the gray area between like telling a story that you've been through and just trauma dumping.
yeah, yeah.
Like that's it's a hard line to
And then,
paint.
and then you know, like
where that line actually is.
with my story, like I'm just telling you like the story about this crazy thing that happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm like, okay, that is a bit of a trauma dump, but it's just because the whole story is very traumatic
Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
a 16-year-old kid to go through.
Yeah.
I mean, man,
Mm. Yeah, I mean anything that happens in like the childhood realm, like but prior to your brain developing, is completely different than the things that happen afterwards.
yeah, and now my brain doesn't send the right kind of connections. I got to go to therapy and have medicine, like
Hmm.
just because my brain is still working to keep me safe from the situations I've been in like this, so it doesn't fire right. So now in therapy, we're working on bringing those two parts together,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is not a lot of fun.
Yeah, digging deeper into the traumatic past is never fun.
Yeah.
It's that period of time where, because like you can kind of go around in circles with it, right? You can kind of like play yourself into thinking that you're doing the real work and like that you're improving,
Yeah.
and you can kind of keep yourself fooled for a little bit, but it's when you actually basically sit down and kind of like face the demons under your bed
Yes.
that you know you're actually able to deal with it. But I've found that it makes life explicitly worse until you're kind of on the other side. Like it feels like you're losing it the whole time it's happening.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's it's actually kind of terrifying
I mean,
because you
yeah.
feel like you've made a mistake.
You're like, why did I want to work on
Mhm.
myself?
Like I shouldn't have opened this Pandora's box. I should have
No.
left it alone.
Yeah, I should have just struggled through life for the rest of my life. It'd have been fine. Everything's great. But
But ultimately, if you hang on and you keep working through it, there's a good chance at least that
yeah,
you do get through it. And at least you learn how to manage it. Like, you never get to the point where, I mean, I don't think it's very common that you get to the point where, like, you have PTSD, but you never have a flashback again.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
because yeah, that's definitely not fully how PTSD works. You're gonna have it, but I think that you're going through it. Like, and yeah, it definitely does get worse for a bit. There were some times I was pretty scared. Um, Kind of freaked my therapist out too. She scheduled me some extra sessions. She's great. But like working through it, like I came to a realization that once I got through it, like the hold that it had on me, it didn't go away. Like it's never gonna go away. That's like the PTSD part. Like I'm still gonna have PTSD from it, but the hold that it had on me where I couldn't breathe for this one subject that we worked on is gone. Like I'm chill. And you know what? Now I realize that things aren't always my fault and how that one thing tied into like being told things were always my fault growing up.
Hmm.
And so then believing that the situation that happened was my fault and then it wasn't. And now I realize that even though things mess up and they're in my life, they're not always my fault.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's funny
Yeah.
how that works.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I slip because
Hmm.
human, but then I'm like, oh, not your fault, Bailey. You got this.
Hmm.
Go, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's easy to lose track.
it is.
So, given the spirit of everything that's taking place in the United States and across the globe right now, with all of these anti-LGBT laws and just the general social and political discourse that's taking place, it can be pretty hard to see people on the media say things like, you need to be eradicated, or, that your existence shouldn't be spoken of. Those things, as tough as we like to act, take a toll. It's harmful and it's painful to deal with every single day. I think most of us are probably just dissociating enough to get by. I know I kind of am.
I definitely am.
So, we wanted to bring up some self care tips that you can use to try to at least take care of yourself and to give yourself space while we're dealing with all of these atrocities that are taking place.
Yes. And mental health doesn't always have to be big. It doesn't have to be your full on, I'm self caring today. I'm wearing a face mask, taking a hot bath with the salts and the bubbles and the candles. And we don't have time for that every day. It can be little things. It can be the 10 minutes you sit in your car when you get home after work and just the silence. It can be watching your favorite movie or show with your favorite snack. It can be just going for a drive, listening to a playlist full of all your favorite songs. What it is really up to you. What makes you feel happy, and it can be something that makes your inner child happy. It can be something that just generally makes you day to day happy. As long as you're getting some kind of comfort throughout the day for yourself, that is the most important. It can make such a big difference. For me, that sitting in my car after work before I go inside, just letting the day kind of fall off me, sit in silence and reflect, that really works wonders for me personally in my life. So, I mean, just remember that, you know, you're in charge of your mental health. You are the one that has to take the steps to do it, and it just it just really makes a difference in your entire life when you just take a moment to care about you.
Hmm. I think it also helps to have one small thing that you can make yourself do, like a common denominator, so to speak. So, say normally you have a whole routine of taking care of yourself and you can tell that mental health has slipped down to sort of a critical level. Try to keep one small thing, like keep your foot in that routine while you're trying to build yourself back up. So, say you can't manage to take a full shower, at least wash your face, something like that. Just something.
Yes.
Um, the other thing that has always helped me is taking, as often as you can, daily, if you have the ability, just a 15-20 minute walk. Like, if you have a dog, it's a great excuse to do that. I've, every time I've gotten out of the habit of doing that or not been able to, I start to get depressed very quickly, and it's just about the only thing that regulates
Yeah,
me.
and I mean it is like scientifically proven that
Mm-hmm.
physical activity helps with stress, depression. I mean,
Mm.
so that is a really good thing. I also like to make obtainable goals, um, which you have to decide what that is for you. I like to make my bed every morning. I start my day off obtaining one goal, and if
So,
I don't do anything else for the rest of the day, I made my goal. I made my bed.
so that's your one small thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's your keeping the foot in the routine.
Yeah,
It helps. It's like an anchor.
it is. And if you have that, I mean, like, yeah, if you have that one small thing, it's the one thing that help you stay grounded and well enough that if you're not doing so well, you can grab a few more things that help you.
Or you can deflect with humor.
Dark humor is the best.
I don't know that it actually helps, but
It is a common factor, I think, with people who struggle with some kind of mental health issues that we all have great dark humor jokes. My therapist says I'm funny, but that's not a coping skill.
That's a great t-shirt, though. My therapist thinks I'm funny. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can make that.
You know what? We're gonna drop some merch eventually. That's gonna go on a t-shirt.
At least my therapist thinks I'm funny.
And then I'm gonna buy one for my therapist.
Yes.
It's gonna be an amazing.
Oh, yeah. Do you ever think about, like, if your therapist sees your content, like...
Are you kidding? I already told her I was gonna share it with her.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sending you the link.
I'm like, I just wonder, like... Do you ever just, like, wonder, like, the things you say, like, how they're gonna be perceived, though?
Oh, absolutely. But a lot of the time I try to like be careful, and my therapist calls me out.
Be careful?
Like about how I'm saying something because I don't want it to be perceived bad. Like the other day, actually at my last session, she was like, you don't always have to explain yourself. It's okay to just say something. And I was like,
Ooh.
well, I'd never considered that because I've been explaining myself my whole life. Thank you,
You're
childhood
like,
trauma.
listen, I had to rationalize it myself first.
It was in here, and then I felt like you needed to hear it too, so then we could like agree on that. But no, apparently I wasn't. Don't say it. Just feel it. Be in the feel. Yeah.
I guess it comes off as, maybe not comes off as, but I guess it probably stems from feeling like, or at least going through experiences where like people didn't listen to what you were saying, so you had to like, or they didn't believe you, so you had to like keep validating.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually have a big thing with that. So I've had several people tell me that the stories I've told about my life are unbelievable. They're things that happen in movies, and I'm not talking about like one time I jumped a car over the Grand Canyon. What I'm talking about is, some of my childhood trauma, and I tell the story and I don't realize, for me it was normal.
Yeah.
Like, this was life.
I hate that when you tell someone a story and in the period that you haven't learned that these things are not normal yet.
Yeah.
And you start telling these stories as if everyone's had this childhood
experience, and they didn't.
And then you get that whole like, oh, kind of expression, like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then people give you the pitying thing, and
But
I hate that. I just don't talk about it.
I would almost rather be pitied than be told that I am making up a story. Because that affected my mental health so much, which is why I explain my thoughts and my situations now, is because too many people were denying me my truth and my life. I mean, and I will give them that there have been some pretty wild things that are definitely, my life should definitely be a movie. So, but
I mean, everybody's done wild stuff. It's just everybody has different categories of that.
Yeah, and for me, the wild things were like happening to me.
Okay. Let me introduce a story to them. See, the transitions are hard.
Yeah.
As a trans person, I would know.
And that's our transition for it.
Oh, man.
So, how do we outro this? Do we just be like, hey, it's been fun having you here with us today? Catch us back every Thursday for the next episode of Non-Binary Nonsense with Enby Adventures.
Yeah. I had like words in my head that I was gonna say, and then I didn't say them.
We'll say them now.
I cannot remember them because pressure. People say pressure makes diamonds, right? Sometimes it also just makes dust. I am brain dust.
Brain dust.
It's that one little brain cell kicking along.
This is my strong arm.
Well,
we could say welcome to the end of the adventure.
You have reached your final destination. I mean, Enby Adventures. Episode 2.
Hope it wasn't as bad as episode 1.
Which we will be publishing.
Oh gosh, we have to do that. Yes.
Should I
please.
kill it? Push the button?
Push it.
Push the button?
In the podcast. Oh, free people.
I thought you said get in the pot. Yes.
In it. Save everybody.
Final countdown.
Now I want to watch Pitch Perfect. Thanks. Final countdown.
Oh no! I should have known that was gonna happen.
Yep. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Uno! The end. That's real scratchy.